So many people have been weighing in on the FBI, meaning Director James Comey, decision to reopen the investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server. It did come, like 11 days before the election. So, a lot of people think it's ill-timed, especially Democrats are incensed about this. But somebody that weighed in on this was Howard Dean.
You mean Howard Dean?
That same Howard Dean. I think I've
Dean.
described him as a fake-ass progressive. Yes, that's what he is now. So he weighed in on Twitter, and he has something very interesting to say. He tweeted out, ironically, Comey put himself on the same side as Putin.
Whoa.
Comey put himself on the same side as Putin. He went on. He also tweeted, Comey tried to do what he thought was right. He totally botched the presentation and may have destroyed the credibility of the FBI forever.
Wait a second. Was Howard Dean saying that, a few months ago when Comey failed to bring any kind of indictment against Hillary Clinton?
I don't think so.
Was he saying that then?
He pretty much was saying that he did the right thing. Now, I'm sure the Democratic Party, Howard Dean included, they weren't happy with Comey's language about Clinton because he did describe her as careless.
If anybody else did this,
exactly. So they weren't happy with the way he described Clinton, but they've been saying forever. They've been saying for months that there's no case here. This is gonna go away. There's nothing to see here. She just made a mistake.
I'm not defending Comey, but I almost have to in this case because Howard Dean is trying to set up this false dichotomy. Not only is he trying to set up a false dichotomy, he's trying to make two things that aren't even the same interchangeable.
Now then, explain what you mean. Explain what you mean.
Well, this FBI investigation is centered upon Hillary's emails.
The private
email server
right.
She had 200 something miles away in her own residence away from the State Department.
Right, while she was Secretary of
Secretary of State.
Right.
That's what the investigation was centered upon.
So,
but the whole WikiLeaks releases, I guess the stigma that has been put on top of those has been one that involves Russia.
Right.
Russia as the perpetrators of all these hacks, right?
So what you're saying?
So what does Comey have to do with that?
So what you're saying is that Putin had nothing to do with her
email server.
Right. She had nothing to do with that controversy.
That's a totally
whole case, that whole investigation had nothing to do with Russia or Putin.
No. So why does Comey get linked with Putin even though this has nothing to do with
because he doesn't
WikiLeaks.
He doesn't want you to think that far.
That doesn't make any sense.
He doesn't want you to think that far into it.
Situation.
Look, if you criticize Hillary Clinton, you're on the same side as Vladimir Putin.
That's why I said it was a false dichotomy because it's like, you said something negative about Hillary, you're on the side of Putin.
No, where's your Russian papers at?
No.
Where's your Russian? Because you must be with Putin.
I must be. No, we both must be with Putin.
Me too. Yep, I'm Russian. My accent, you hear that? Anybody that criticizes Hillary Clinton is on the same side as Putin.
Automatically, without a doubt.
Wow. Howard Dean. That's really funny, man. That's really funny. You know what else is funny? Because we keep talking about this Russia thing. Even though there's still no ample evidence that this hack, leak, whatever you want to call it, was perpetrated by Russia, right? And Hillary Clinton, the whole Democratic establishment, what have they been saying? Russia's been interfering,
trying to interfere with our election,
influencing
our
the
democratic
process. They're with Trump. They're trying to influence our democratic process, just like you said, right? I wonder if anybody
has. I wonder if anybody in particular. Has entertained the idea of meddling in another country's election.
I do not think we should have pushed for an election in the Palestinian territories. I think that was a big mistake. And if we were going to push for an election, then we should have made sure that we did something to determine who was going to win.
So what you just heard there was Hillary Clinton back in 2006, September of 2006. And she was doing an interview with the Jewish press, the editorial board of the Jewish press. And so this audio tape obviously has not been released. Only a few ears had actually listened to this recording until now.
But I haven't really heard much about this.
I haven't really heard a peep about it. Not at all. But it's, I mean, we don't hear the whole tape. I think it's like a 45-minute tape, but a lot of it, because the Observer has an article about it, and they said a lot of it is, just irrelevant information. They talk about a lot of different things, but this particular section, I mean, we heard enough context.
No, I think you're right. I know it's only a snippet, but I think there's enough context within that little part to know exactly what she's talking about. It's pretty clear. That sounds like meddling to me.
That sounds like influencing another country's democratic process.
And of course, where is it at? In the Middle East.
Oh.
See, and it's like, the thing is, it's like we already have a fractured relationship with the Middle East. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's concerning. It's speaking to pro-Israel. Of course. The pro-Israel crowd.
Of course.
So the crowd that wants unconditional support of Israel. So of course, you want to put your hands on. You want your hands deciding who's going to be the leader of the Palestinians, because you don't want that to conflict with Israel.
The interest of Israel.
No, of course you don't want that.
Because Israel's the good guy.